Hey guys, Zen here, and Operation Ember Rise has been fully revealed, and so in this video, I wanted to bring you guys some of my early impressions and thoughts of everything that we learned. Now, I will have a video coming out very soon where we'll go more in depth and really break down everything that we know, but there was a ton of information that came out today, and I wanted to bring you guys a new video, so let's get into it. So, let's start things off with Amaru, the new attacker coming to Rainbow Six Siege, and she'll be bringing the Gara hook to the field. Now, the Gara hook is actually a lot more versatile than we initially thought. So yes, you can rappel up through hatches, but you can also rappel up through skylights, on top of rooftops, and through barricaded windows. Now, during the match, you'll only get the opportunity to use this gadget 4 times, so you'll have to be pretty sparing on what exactly you decide to rappel to. Once you're inside of the map, you will only really be able to rappel up through hatches. You won't be able to lock onto windows. You also won't be able to lock onto doorways, and so it limits her to really only being able to go through hatches, and this kind of is where her loadout comes into play. So Amaru will have access to the Supernova shotgun. She'll also have access to the LMG that IQ has, the G8, and for secondary options, she'll have Mira and Jackal's secondary shotgun, as well as the SMG-11. Now, overall, this makes her a very versatile operator, and I think there's going to be many different loadout options for you to take when you actually use her. I think bottom line, really, no matter what way you decide to kit her out, you have to bring one of those shotguns, because unlike the barricaded windows, every hatch will actually have to be popped open before you're able to rappel up through them. So if your plan is to get inside of the map, rappel up through a hatch, you're gonna want to bring a shotgun, pop open the hatch, and then rappel up through it yourself. As far as secondary options, she has access to the Claymore as well as breaching charges. Now, because of how her gadget works outside of the map, I don't think that breaching charges are really going to be necessary for this operator. She can kind of just fling through the barricaded windows from outside of the map, and so hot breaching and that kind of thing really isn't going to be her niche. On the other hand, I think the Claymore is a really viable option for this operator. I would have loved to see flashbangs on her, considering there is somewhat of a delay after she actually rappels up and in through things, but a Claymore to watch her back as she's setting up, to use the Gara hook and stuff like that, I think is really solid for this operator, and I think the majority of the community is probably going to lock on to that secondary gadget for her. Now, as far as counters to the Gara hook, the biggest one is actually Castle. Now, if there's a castle barricade on a window and you try to aim the Gara hook at it, it will not let you lock onto it at all. The animation, none of it will actually happen and none of it will actually pop up, and so he is clearly the biggest counter to her. Unless you have an Ashe or a Zofia knock one out, that window will basically be immune to the Gara hook and Amaru will not be able to bust through it. On the opposite end of the spectrum, with wooden barricades that she is able to bust through, you're looking at trap operators, so the biggest being Frost and Capkin, being able to basically pin her down if she busts through a window or damage her quite heavily, and then of course Lesion and Ella, because if she is grappling onto a window, once the animation begins and she flies through, there's nothing she can do until she lands. She can't aim her weapon, she can't fire, she can't aim down sight, nothing until she lands, and so she's basically at your mercy if she hasn't droned it out and she isn't aware of those traps. Finally, what I'll say about Amaru is that from outside of the map and as far as like an initial push, I think she's going to be really strong, and I think that the community will find some really creative ways to make that early push and to get Amaru inside of the map as quickly as possible. Now, once she's inside of the map, I think that's where some of the issue with her balance is going to start to begin. Yes, she does have some pretty solid weapons, and the SMG-11 is pretty much god tier as a secondary weapon, but having to break open those hatches causes a lot of noise, gives the defensive team a lot of intel, and a lot of the times will give off her position. I think that's where the Claymore is going to come into serious play with her, and I think because she can't grapple from within the map onto windows, onto doorways especially, she's not going to be able to use the Gara hook to escape, and so if she is able to get on site, she'll have good weapons, she'll be able to get some kills, she'll do some damage, but it's actually getting on site that I think is going to be tough for her beyond that initial early push. So all in all, Amaru looks like a really strong operator, but I think it's going to be some time until we see her full potential. Now, moving over to the defensive side, we have Goyo and his Vulcan shield. So the Vulcan shield looks like the new deployable V2 that'll be coming with Operation Ember Rise. Now, every operator that has access to a deployable shield currently will get this deployable V2 replaced, and again, the Vulcan shield looks just like it. Now, because of this, the attackers will never really know if it's a regular deployable shield or if it's a Vulcan shield, and so at least from the front, unless they drone it out and they spot the canister attached to it on the back, they'll never really know if it's a Vulcan shield or not, which puts them at risk. So basically, you'll set the Vulcan shield up in a doorway or a hallway, some kind of choke point, and wait for an attacker to be nearby. Now, once an attacker is nearby, you have the choice of either using some kind of explosion to detonate it, or you can shoot the red canister on the back of it, and it'll leave flames all around its explosion, and they seem to last for quite some time. So yeah, Goyo is all about area denial and keeping the attackers away from certain positioning. Now, as far as his loadout, he's bringing the Vector 45, which is Mira's main submachine gun. He's also bringing my main Kaid's TCSG shotgun, equipped with an ACOG scope, which is very interesting on this operator because he's not a 3 armor operator. He's actually a 2-speed 2 armor, which, guys, it actually means that there is the potential for 2-speed 2 armor operators to have access to ACOGs again, which for the past couple years in Siege just hasn't been the case. For a secondary, he has a pistol, and for secondary gadgets, he has the impact grenades as well as the C4. Now, honestly, just looking at Goyo's loadout, he is a very strong operator on defense. The Vector is an absolute shred-style weapon with a high fire rate and just so much headshot potential. And then the TCSG, I mean, some people aren't big fans of it, and I know those of you over on console aren't too keen on it, but it does have breach potential, and equipped with that ACOG scope, it can be very lethal. So him having both of those options in his loadout really just makes him very, very strong in my opinion. Now, given the fact he has both impacts and C4, I think there's a lot of synergy with both of those secondary gadgets and his main gadget, the Vulcan shield, because it requires some sort of explosion or for you to deal damage to the canister in some way. Twitch has no effect on it, EMPs don't have an effect on it, electricity does not have any effect on it at all, and so because it requires those kinds of ballistics to deal with, Goyo has access to them, and so from behind cover, he can toss an impact grenade, a C4, explode the shield, and really use all of his utility in a pretty safe spot. So all in all, I think this operator is going to be very strong. We might be looking at the new Mira, the new Maestro, kind of in that top tier meta of operators that really just has it all. A great weapon, a great gadget, great secondary gadgets, always useful, 2 armor, 2 speed with an ACOG. It's really just the complete package with Goyo, I think. Now, the canister itself can be kind of used against defense as well. If the attackers get a vertical angle on it and a defender really isn't paying attention, they can pop the canister, cause that area denial, force a defender into a uncomfortable position, and it can really be difficult to deal with on both sides. So as far as the Vulcan shield itself, there is some balance there as well between the different sides of the round. But overall, I think it's a really strong gadget, and I think it is defender favored in nature, and really a lot of it also has to do with the popularity of the new deployable shield. If you know that the only time you ever see a deployable shield is when the Vulcan shield and Goyo is on the map, then it might not be that successful. Now, on the other hand, if it becomes one of the most popular secondaries and starts to trump things like impacts and barbed wire, then it might be more confusing to know whether you're looking at a deployable or a Vulcan. And so I think that dynamic is going to be important in the meta as well. But overall, the 2 new operators I think are going to be pretty game changing once they first come out. I think it is going to take some time before we get used to Amaru in particular, but Goyo, I think right off the bat, the community is going to gravitate to, and he's going to be a very strong operator overall. I don't think either of these 2 are necessarily overpowered, but I will say that with Goyo's loadout, it'll take some time for the community to really get used to having another Vector on the defender's side and just how much headshot potential and killing potential that may bring. Right then, so let's move over to Canal, and my initial impressions of the map are that yes, the devs definitely made more flanking routes, they made it easier to get in between the buildings by adding another bridge, but it looks really tight and enclosed. There seems to be a lot of narrow hallways and rooms, and because of this, it actually reminds me a lot of Tower. Now, Tower isn't necessarily a bad map, but it had to be removed from ranked because of some of its imbalances, and so Canal is being added to ranked, and Ubisoft is actually going to be removing Fortress, Theme Park, and Hereford Base from the ranked map pool and adding Canal, and so it'll be a matter of time to see if the community really latches onto this and is really for Canal being in the ranked map pool. But otherwise, I'm hoping for a good map rework this season, so we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the last thing that I wanted to touch on here is the new battle pass that's coming to Rainbow Six Siege. So let's be honest here, guys. This is a new way for Ubisoft to monetize the game and to help us keep the lights on in here. Now, to keep with the honesty, I don't play battle royales much at all, and so I'm not super familiar with how battle passes are integrated or how they usually work in these games, but Siege has one coming in year 4. 4. Now, initially, they're going to start off with what's being known as a mini battle pass, where there's only going to be a very select few items that are going to be available through it. You'll play, and as you play, you'll naturally gain these battle points, and you'll be able to unlock these certain things. And I believe the last unlock and the last reward is an exclusive Harry charm, which is pretty cool, the new 6-team leader. Now, with Year 4 Season 4, they're going to be introducing a full battle pass, which will have a premium option and will come with a lot more options as far as rewards and customization and all those other kinds of things. Now, I know some people just hate and loathe the idea of something like this in Rainbow Six Siege, more microtransactions, all that kind of thing. But for me personally, it's really not the end of the world. All of this stuff is, of course, cosmetic, and of course, all of it is additional content on top of the stuff that we usually get. And so for me, it's just an added bonus to unlock things that I probably would have unlocked otherwise in the game. So something else to note here is that it kind of acts like that carrot at the end of the stick, where if you're ever feeling like you want to take a break or pull away from the game, there's always that next tier, that next reward, that next customization item that you can gain access to if you play just 1 or 2 more games or something like that. And so it does help with longevity in that way. And just to be honest here, guys, it's somewhat of a trendy thing, and there are a lot of gamers out there that know what a battle pass is, know how it works, and like the idea of something like this in their favorite games, and Siege is really no different. So as far as the battle pass is concerned, for me, it's just an additional benefit really to being able to play the game and just get more rewards and build up a battle pass, however that may work. Again, I'm not super familiar with it, but I'm definitely curious to know how you guys feel about this implementation of more monetization opportunities in Rainbow Six Siege. So definitely let me know in a comment down below. But guys, really, that's everything in this video. It's starting to run on pretty long, and I know that there's a lot of information here, but that's really where I want to end this video. We're going to have more content coming very soon where we go over literally everything. There's still a lot more that we haven't touched on, but we will cover those things in a future video. So I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts of everything we learned in Operation Ember Rise? Do you plan on picking up the 2 new operators, Amaru and Goyo? And of course, what are your thoughts on the battle pass? Leave everything in a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, I'm out.